See you in Suzuki.
Hello out there in Internetland. This is episode 18 of the F1 chat for the 2023 season. I'm your host, Phil Lamington. Seated to my left is a man who he's somewhat happy because his boys in Papaya did all right in this race, and that is JB. JB, how are you, my friend?
Somewhat happy. I'm pretty stoked, man.
Yeah, well.
I'm pretty damn stoked. Lando went from P4 to P2. Oscar went from P17 to 7th with the less upgraded car.
And, you know what's even better is that my guy, Carlos, went from P1 to P1.
Yeah, it's a good day at the office.
It's a pity about Charles Leclerc, but yeah, that's all right. He went from P3 to P4, but yeah, you know, it happens. Seated to my right is a man who's returning from his assignment last episode. He was away on assignment, but he's back and he's super happy because I don't know. Why are you happy? It's Jay. It's Longhorn. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, super pumped to be back to watch Logan Sargent sweep clean the streets of Singapore
With his front wing.
with his front wing. Yeah,
It's a clean city now. It's an even cleaner city.
Yeah.
Thank you.
At least we've found him employment after F1.
Yeah.
He could be a street sweeper, or you know what he could really do? He could drive the super sopper at the cricket.
I don't even know if I trust him in that.
The pitch is ruined.
It's a superb pitch there because Shogun Largent drives the super shopper to shop up all the water after the rain.
Hey, whoa. He held off a world champion tonight.
He did.
Yeah, he did. He beat him to the line, if you didn't see. Yeah, he beat a world champion. If you just watched that 5-second part of the race.
That's his career highlight. That's the only highlight he'll ever have. Remember that day I beat Fernando Alonso, but you were 16th.
To
Yeah,
P16.
but I beat him.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
He'll just frame like a photo of him beating like Fernando Alonso to the line, but there won't be any reference of what positions they were.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "This is the day I won the Singapore Grand Prix for Fernando Alonso."
That's the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like, "That's it.
That's me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
me.
it.
Yeah. That'll be him in 20 years' time, eh?
Sit there
That's
with
me.
his kids."
That's when I beat Fernando Alonso.
You remember Monsters Inc. when Mike Wazowski's on like the company ad and they put the logo up and it's like Sully's like, "I'm so sorry," and he's like, "Did you see that?
Yeah.
I was on TV."
Yeah.
That's Logan Sargent. Oh my God, I was on TV.
TV.
That's me beating Fernando Alonso.
That's it. Right, so
In 4K high definition, baby.
you can practically taste it.
Fuck yeah! Gosh.
Yeah, that was great. He's fighting for his contract and fighting for his seat. Who did he beat? Fernando Alonso. For
Hey,
dead
world champion,
last.
Fernando Alonso.
For dead last.
Don't forget, you put some respect on Logan Sargent's name.
Puts a big asterisk on him. Held off Fernando Alonso for dead last.
But he wasn't dead last.
No, well, besides...
And he did half a lap with the front wing under his front tyres. Like, that's impressive. We won't talk about Fernando's 97-second fucking pit stop.
And going off the track and all this other stuff.
And at the start of the year, the car was beautiful. Last night, it's undrivable.
Yeah.
Well, let's ask Lance Stroll his opinion.
His is undrivable, that's for sure.
His is in two pieces.
Yeah, well, he chopped on eyebrow, didn't he?
Just about. It was a pretty wicked crash.
It was. But, you know, if you drive like a dunce, you end up in the wall.
That's true.
You know, mess with the ball, you get the horn. You know?
Correct.
Right. Well, this was actually race 15 of the season. And it was quite a good race.
It was a cracker. Those the last 15 laps. It was like a Bathurst.
Yeah.
Like they processioned all the way through, and then lap 44 was the lap, and it all kicked off from there, and it was a really exciting finish.
Yeah. First 20 was good. Last 20 was good.
Yeah, that's a Bathurst.
Yeah.
It really felt like a cinematic race. You know, it started off strong, then you had a bit of plot in the middle, and then you had the
big action scene at the end.
Yeah, you had time to go to the toilet and get some more popcorn in the middle if you needed, and then come back right for the action sequence.
Or in my case, go to the fridge and get a couple of Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, sure.
That's the joys of coming
Nice.
back from Brisbane.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention to you boys, I've still got a few left.
Oh, boy.
Post-party Krispy Kremes.
Yes!
Let's
Yeah,
go.
boy!
That's impressive. All right. Now that all of our listeners are fucked off, do you want the race report?
Yes.
All right. 2023 Singapore Airlines Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah, boy!
And this sponsor plug is legit because I've flown with Singapore Airlines and they're brilliant.
Nice,
They
we're
are-
getting
they
flights
are-
now.
They are genuinely like one of the best airlines in the world.
Whereas I flew down to Brisbane on Friday. It was supposed to be with Virgin, but they swapped planes because they were running out of staff.
Did you fly one of those Alliance jets?
Yes.
From the 80s?
Yeah. It's still got the cigarette
Yeah.
trays in the... Yeah.
Yeah, but no cigarettes.
No. And what's worse is, right, no Wi-Fi.
No, it's from the 80s, mate.
Yeah, but it gets worse. There's nothing to buy on the plane. Like, you can't buy a can of Coke or anything. They walk around and give you the worst cup of tea ever imagined. And then the flight back was with Jetstar last night. I landed an hour before the race started.
Jesus, you just went budget airlines the whole way, didn't you?
Jetstar.
Yeah,
And-
budget airlines.
And yeah, but the Jetstar flight, it took off 10 minutes late because they were nearly going to ground the flight because the plane they originally had malfunctioned.
Let's
so-
fly
So
Jetstar.
they just happened to have a spare one just sitting there.
This one's
So I'll just chuck them on that one. Had no Wi-Fi again, but that was all right. I listened to some Van Halen for an hour. And because of our tickets, my partner Carol and I got a $10 voucher each to use on the flight. Oh,
Hey,
so
big
I got
spender.
I got a can of Sprite and a can of Pringles sour cream chips. And she
What
got a
more
couple
could you
of-
possibly ask for?
And it was
Only $6 out of pocket after that $10 voucher.
Yeah, that's the entire $10 gone.
Yeah.
yeah, that was the $10 gone.
Yeah. We're talking airline prices, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
But
$7 for the Pringles alone.
it was $6 for the Pringles and $4 for the can of Solo.
Yeah, that's airport pricing.
Yeah, and it was a full plane, so the air conditioning barely worked. But the pilot was a genius. He actually got us there early.
Boy.
He
We
flawed it.
left 10 minutes late, and we got there 5 minutes early.
How good.
Absolutely top notch. Thank you,
Max Verstappen of Jetstar pilots.
Yeah,
huh?
Maverick and Goose. Maverick and Goose. Right, on with the F1.
Anyway, none of that will happen on Singapore Airlines because they're great. And they also sponsored this race, ironically. Marina Bay Street Circuit, obviously. Brilliant location. Lap 1. Carlos Sainz starts on pole position alongside George Russell. Carlos Sainz gets a great jump, as does Charles Leclerc for Ferrari 1-2. Lewis Hamilton leaves the track needing to redress and let Russell back past. Lap 2, Yuki Tsunoda is stranded at turn 14, his AlphaTauri behind the barriers and out of the race. Lap 4, Lewis Hamilton redresses, letting Russell and Norris back past.
Hang on, that's twice now you used a Neil Cromptonism.
Yeah, did you like that?
Redress.
You like that?
Redress. Martin Brundle also said redress, so that's why I used it.
Oh, well, he's added legitimacy to it.
Yeah, sorry. It is Bathurst season, though, and the Neil Cromptonisms can, drop. I'm not going to talk for 25 minutes about, rear wishbone suspension things
Or
while the race is going on.
or
27 points better suspension check.
yeah, I'd love to perform that on his fucking head.
Anyway, lap 6, Max Verstappen passes Kevin Magnussen for 8th after starting a season-low 11th. Lap 20, Logan Sargent outbrakes himself into turn 8, losing his front wing. Race control throws a safety car, sending the pit crew scrambling. Carlos Sainz pits from the lead with Charles Leclerc double-stacking with him and losing 4 on-track positions after being held in pit lane for traffic. Max Verstappen stays out to go P2. Lap 23, Lando Norris tries a move on Sergio Perez but gets checked up and is almost rear-ended by Charles Leclerc, who then loses a spot to Lewis Hamilton. Fernando Alonso is handed a 5-second time penalty for crossing the entry line at pit entry. Lando Norris passes Sergio Perez. George Russell passes Max Verstappen. Lap 24, Lando Norris passes Max Verstappen for third. Lap 27, Lewis Hamilton passes Max Verstappen for fourth. Lap 37, Fernando Alonso tries a move on Sergio Perez but winds up losing out to his former teammate Esteban Ocon. Lap 39, Esteban Ocon picks off Sergio Perez for seventh. Fernando Alonso follows. Sergio Perez pits for a set of medium tyres. Lap 40, Max Verstappen pits for a set of medium tyres. Lap 43, Esteban Ocon pulls off to the side of the track at turn 1, actually. I have turn 3 here for some reason. A virtual safety car is triggered. Lap 44, Mercedes double stack fresh medium tyres for both Russell and Hamilton. Lap 47, Fernando Alonso goes straight on down an escape road but continues. Lap 53, George Russell passes Charles Leclerc for third. Lap 54, Lewis Hamilton passes Charles Leclerc for fourth. Lap 62, George Russell fires off the track at turn 10 trying to chase down Lando Norris. Carlos Sainz wins the Singapore Grand Prix from Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton gets fastest lap. Carlos Sainz gets driver of the day. And it should be noted, that's the end of the Red Bull streak.
Yeah.
That is Max Verstappen's 10th consecutive victory and Red Bull's 16th consecutive win as a team out the window. It's done. Streak broken, like WrestleMania 30.
Speaking of other streaks, did you see this was Red Bull's 102nd race in a row getting Q3?
Really?
And because they didn't.
Streak broken.
Streak broken, and Bottas beats him by 1 himself. So he's still got the streak.
Wow. That's amazing.
In fourth place was Charles Leclerc in the other Ferrari. Fifth place was Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Sixth place was Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. Seventh place was Oscar Piastri in the other McLaren. Eighth place was Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. Ninth was Liam Lawson in the AlphaTauri. And rounding out the top 10 was Kevin Magnussen in the Haas.
Pierre Gasly flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite.
Actually, both the Alpines had a good night. If Esteban Ocon didn't clonk out, they were going to be on for a solid night themselves.
Well, before we get into the drivers, the actual track was different this year because they left out the grandstand section.
Yeah, that's a
Marina
shame.
Bay one, was it?
The Marina Bay Grandstand, that's where we sat in 2013, overlooking the river. They apparently they're redeveloping that whole front, so they just cut it out this year.
You know what?
Shaved 10 seconds off the lap. Actually, didn't mind it.
Yeah, I prefer the
I
track
actually
in this
thought
layout.
that the racing was better down to that corner, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Especially at the end with the Mercedes hunting down Lando.
Yeah, look, I think they need to keep the track in that layout.
I think so.
It worked for me.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I don't think you'll see many arguments. I think it was a better layout.
I think it improved the racing too.
It did. Yeah, as I said, especially in those last 10 laps. Like that was a crucial sector of the track.
And it's also worth mentioning that Lance Stroll sat out of the race after his massive crash in qualifying.
He had an airplane crash in quali coming out of the last corner. Overcooked it, just speared into the wall at 200 plus k's an hour.
Yeah, well, he certainly got a 9 from the Russian judge on that dismount.
Oof. Yeah.
I think he chipped an eyebrow.
I don't think he would have been missing much. I mean, the way Fernando Alonso's night went.
Yeah, well. All right. So my key drivers for this race. Now, obviously, I've put Carlos Sainz. He drove a really intelligent race.
He drove a great weekend. He put it on pole, and then he went and basically dominated the race.
Yeah.
And when he needed to, used Lando Norris as a meat shield from the two Mercedes.
Yeah.
That was brilliant, eh?
That was actually really smart.
Yeah, when he come over the radio and said, it's on purpose, I think both me and you, Phil, looked at each other and just went, cheeky boy.
Cheeky Carlos.
Yeah, that was smart driving.
That was great.
My next key driver was Lando Norris. I thought he drove a really fantastic race, and he was pretty on it all weekend as well.
He drove his ass off to keep George Russell behind him.
Yeah.
So much so that he hit the wall.
Yeah, well, him and George hit the same wall coming into turn 10, and Lando got away with it and George didn't, but them's the brakes.
But Lando said he hit it the lap before.
No, they hit it at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you watch the last lap back. He clips it, and then George clips it because George is in his slipstream.
Yeah.
So Lando clips the edge, and then George hits it harder, and George's rear suspension breaks, and he just goes straight on.
I did include Lewis Hamilton in one of my key drivers.
He drove Mercedes' strategy call to double stack them under the VSC and put the mediums on was brilliant.
It was the right call.
It was absolutely the right call.
It could have cost them at the time. They were what, 3rd and 4th?
Yes.
Anyway, so it was like it could have either cost them or, I mean, it did cost them, and kind of cost them Russell, but it was the right call because you got to go for the win, and that's what they went for.
Yeah.
You know, you got to give it everything to go for the win.
They
What's third?
They were closer going for it that way than they would have been just staying on track.
100%. So
like they would have got nowhere near Charles Leclerc. They were both behind Charles Leclerc.
I'm always for going for the call that gives you the chance of first, rather than taking, say, the safe call and coming home in the points that you're already guaranteed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that would have worked against Lewis Hamilton was what went on the first corner, where he bailed out and he overtook Russell and Norris. Yeah. And eventually he gave the positions back, but
Took his time with it. But yeah.
It was almost like they had to be told, like, you have to give it
Yeah,
back.
Mercedes did eventually. Mercedes told him to give it back to Russell, which he did, but it took them an extra couple of laps to give it back to Lando.
Yeah, because I think wasn't someone in between Lando at the time and Hamilton?
Russell.
Yeah, Russell.
No, even after Russell went through, wasn't someone still...
I think Charles Leclerc was there.
Yeah, so they were like, he couldn't give it back immediately because he would be given like 2 places back.
Yeah, but he eventually corrected it and finished on the podium. Good on it.
Speaking of Charles Leclerc, he was my next driver. I think he drove pretty well, seeing that he was relegated to being the tail gunner.
Yeah, considering he was practically a decoy, Lois.
Yeah.
You know, and he tried different strategies, because at the start, Sainz was on the mediums and Leclerc was on the softs.
Yeah.
It was a very strange strategy, but seemingly it worked. But
I think Charles Leclerc was probably hoping for a bit more pace.
I think Charles Leclerc, the pit stop, where they double stacked, and he backed up everyone so much that he screwed himself.
He wound up losing 4 on-track positions because he had to be held for one of the Aston Martins coming in.
That's what screwed him up.
Yeah, he played himself.
I think Oscar Piastri did extremely well.
From 17th to 7th with a car that's got not all the upgrades on it yet.
But
well driven.
That was a solid drive from him.
His first ever time at that track too. He's never been there.
Yeah. And my final key driver is Liam Lawson in the AlphaTauri.
Outstanding, son.
He is the first driver in history to score maiden points at Singapore. No driver has ever scored their first ever points at Singapore. Liam Lawson just did.
But I'm going to say this now: if the guys at AlphaTauri, if Laurent Mickey's or Helmut Marko or whoever's in charge of picking the drivers, if they're not looking at Liam Lawson and going, we ought to give this guy a proper crack.
Yeah, he needs a seat next year. He has to have a seat.
When's Yuki Tsunoda's contract up?
This year.
Yeah.
I think their replacement's sitting there.
Although
we said that with Williams and Nick DeVries.
Yeah, there's no one else. And like, if you were to look at it, as much as you could make a case for Tsunoda to be out, he's still probably their best driver at the moment. Tsunoda's still been good this year.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't his fault that he was out of the race either.
Exactly, and it wasn't his fault last week. The car didn't, his poor performances generally haven't been down to him. And Lawson's just come in and done great as well. I honestly look at it and I go, does Daniel Ricciardo, if he comes back in and doesn't do as well as, say, Lawson's done for these few races for the end of the year, does Ricciardo get back in next year?
Well, there is another option.
Or does Ricciardo go straight to Red Bull and they move Perez on because of bad performances?
Well, there is another option. It's, even though this could work against Red Bull in the long run, is lend Lawson or Tsunoda to Williams.
Yeah, I've heard Tsunoda being linked with Williams. I'd love that, to be honest.
Because they reckon in 26, when Aston Martin goes to Honda power units, that Tsunoda's going to Aston Martin.
I'd take Tsunoda tomorrow at Williams. It'd be much better than fucking Logan Sargent. I mean,
Yeah, well,
not
Logan
hard.
Sargent's fighting to save his seat because his
it's
contract is up this year.
Yeah, it is. It is up. There is no.
Oh, look, yeah, I think
Put that guy on the grid again next year, you're gonna just. Oh.
it's going to be Albon carrying the team by himself.
Albon
again.
will be gone because he'll realise we've got no interest in moving up the grid and progressing this car. So Albon will be looking for the next seat. He'll be gone. He won't have any interest to hang around, and we need to be trying to keep that guy as long as we can to pull us up the grid. I think Tsunoda would be a good replacement. He's got Formula 1 experience. He's come on this year and actually been decent. He doesn't hit the wall every race, so that's a bloody plus. I think he'd come in and offer a little bit of pace to pick up an extra few points here or there.
What if you just get Lawson?
I think I prefer Tsunoda because I want that guy with a bit of F1 like experience. Like as much as I don't think Lawson would be bad, he'd still have. Of course he can. I'm not saying he can't. But
worst case scenario, ship off Daniel Ricciardo.
Ship off Daniel to Williams.
I would like Tsunoda at Williams because Tsunoda worked closely with Alex Albon when they were at Red Bull. Albon was actually his mentor.
Yeah, that makes
helps.
sense.
You know what I mean? Like there's a relationship there, so I'd like to see that, and that gives Lawson his seat in AlphaTauri and Daniel Ricciardo his seat in AlphaTauri, which is probably a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Right, and then we get the new segment that I added a few races ago, the dead shit drivers.
We should just start calling it the Logan Sargent Award.
Well, there's four recipients this week.
Four nominees? Four nominees or four winners?
Four winners.
Four winners, right.
Do you get the trophy that's shaped like the poo emoji? Because you should.
Yeah. For anyone just listening, it's a...
It's a photo of a Mercedes on fire, and it's got Nico Rosberg on fire pointing meme as the fire coming out of the back of the car.
And his smile just says, "Remember that time I beat Lewis Hamilton,
Yeah.
7-time world champion in equal machinery."
You know what's going to happen? That's going to be the Logan Sargent meme as well. I beat Fernando Alonso. Well, my first dead shit driver, I'm going to give it to Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Like,
the guy is crumbling. Finally, his dad's got the world champion he needed to kick him out of the sport.
Yeah, it's done.
It has to be happening, yeah? Like,
I mean, it was a pretty big crash, but he was the only one that did it.
yeah.
Lando Norris came out and said that last corner needs to be reprofiled because no one wants to take it flat. But out of 20 drivers, Lance Stroll was the only one that bit it like that.
He was also coming nowhere in quali at the time.
Although, to be fair, it's probably a pretty ominous warning. It's like, maybe we shouldn't take that corner flat. That looks like it hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's
done. Man, that guy needs to run his contract out soon as well.
The problem is he doesn't have one. His contract is literally unlimited.
It's not.
His contract
It
is
is.
his birth
limited.
certificate.
It's limited to his performance.
It's limited to his dad.
His dad. I don't care that it's his dad now. There's no way you're putting up with this.
Oh, I wouldn't think so either, but I'm just telling you that his contract...
That tennis rumor doesn't come out in the media unless...
That's his dad leaking that to try and get him out.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like...
no one hears about that tennis rumor unless he's trying to persuade him out the fucking door.
That's what I think. That's the thing, though. I don't think he's ever going to sack him. I think he's going to try and blissfully make him leave, in a sense.
The meme was right.
Yeah.
Enough world champions, just make him quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, his contract is his birth certificate.
Legit.
You know?
Like, you look up every Formula One's contract, he's the only one who's got no information, because it's just like...
It's ongoing. It literally says ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a Porsche. All right, the next dead shit driver is unfortunately his teammate Fernando Alonso.
He didn't.
That's a bad day at the office.
Well, I mean, when you get beaten by Logan Sargent.
Yeah.
That's
all you need to know.
His pit stop crew didn't help with a 25-second pit
Yeah.
stop under the safety car.
The wheel's not on, guys. We should lift it back up.
Oh, the other wheel's not on either, guys.
We should probably also lift that back up. I can pit stop. You only had one car to focus on this weekend.
Yeah.
How do you fucking... It's like, you're not panicking because it's a double stack.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, Mercedes is just nailing double stacks. Ferrari are nailing double stacks besides Charles Leclerc's detriment. But everyone in this race basically double stacked at one point.
Yeah.
And
And
they
here's
couldn't
Aston
handle
Martin.
one.
And here's Aston Martin with one car.
How do I tire?
Brick for hands, fucking wheel handler, and Jack guy. That's
Frederick
just like, is it done?
Frederick Vesti's pit crew just showed up. Can we give you guys a hand?
I could do the pit stop.
Yeah, I'd
Fucking Garth
hanging-
Tanner's pit crew.
God, then this pick through. Be hanging my head in shame after this weekend, Aston Martin.
Yeah, it wasn't a great.
I don't think James Bond wants to drive an Aston Martin anymore.
Not after that.
Not after that. Q actually fits the wheels on his car. Speaking of the next dead shit driver was Logan Sargent. Yeah. Just because.
Lock him in every week.
Yeah.
Legit.
Like,
The guy just makes. Oh, I just don't even want to get into it. I'll keep going. I won't
we'll
stop.
save it for the end of year episode where we can
I
just give you a 10-minute rant
He's
about
just
him.
he's just another one on the mill, isn't it? The Gotifi, the Mazepin.
He's worse. He's freaking worse.
Because he's American.
He's just
handicapped
driving
at
towards
birth.
a corner and he's like, "Oh shit, I forgot to turn." Whoa. Wing off, wing off, wing off. I don't know how we've got any wings left.
I want to see if it's a right-hand corner because you think being American, you'd be okay with lefts.
That's what it's like. It's like,
Yeah, well, I mean, he's American. He's handicapped by birth.
I bet you that's what he's saying too. He's like, "Oh, guys, it's taken me a while to get used to this, right-hand drive, like."
You're in the center of the car.
Is that what the
friendo.
problem is, Logan? Yeah, I've just been so used to left all my life, like, fuck me.
It's not weighing 4 kilos. It doesn't have a 4-speed on the floor like I'm used to.
Is there a worse job in the world right now than Logan Sargent's pit crew? Like, mechanics? Like, every weekend you just be thinking, like, oh,
It's like
fuck, I got a big
you
one.
You just go home and
If
practice.
you
with
go
them.
to the Williams garage right now, all his mechanics are just in the back with Red Bulls and cigarettes because they're just, like, up all the time. Like, he's panicking him every time they go out because they're like, oh, get the front wing ready.
That scene in Rush where Nicky Lauda walks out after the mechanics have been working all night. Logan Sargent just walks out the garage and they're all just fucking furious at him. Just throwing their cigarettes in the puddles. Just like, thank you for your hard work. Good night.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for your hard work. I'll see you in Japan.
Well, look at
And I bet you he's so oblivious to the fact that they hate him. You know what I mean? Because of it. Like, he's just like, see you guys at Japan, boys.
It's your job. It's
yeah,
yeah,
boys. See you in Japan.
yeah. Just pumping him up.
Pumping him up.
America.
Walks up.
just walking around like he's LA Knight, just going, fix
Yeah.
the car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dummy. Yeah. Honestly, I see Logan Sargent in the pit area going, how much horsepower are you getting out of this? Oh, 700. It needs to be 500 horsepower, and it needs some magnesium parts. But it's a carbon fiber. It needs magnesium parts. I saw it on Rush.
Yeah. Nicky Lauda said it once.
Cole Trickle said never go around the outside of turn 3. But I'm going to show you boys a thing or two. This cowboy still got it.
My favorite driver was Russ Wheeler.
Ricky Bobby. Man, first I'm last. Anyway, see you in Suzuka, y'all. Signing off. Anyway, who was your last driver? This is just getting bogged down.
Did you just say Suzuki?
Probably.
So, yes,
See you in Suzuki.
he would say it that way too.
Suzuki or wherever the fuck we're going next. One of them places in Japan.
Is that near Hiroshima? We drop bombs on there.
America, fuck yeah. Going around and see the motherfucking... Just getting in his, like, Chevy Silverado pickup and fucking...
Yeah, but he'd break the front wing on that too.
Doesn't even have a front wing.
I know.
The bull bar just falls off. just hits a car on the way out the parking lot.
Reverses out. Poof, poof, poof. Drives off.
3-point turn, y'all.
Shows up on the grid in a monster truck.
Oh my god! I'm going to miss Logan Sargent just for this. Just for this when he goes.
Jesus, you're going to kill me at this rate.
That was great.
Anyway, noted he's shit.
Well, you promised him a 10-second car, but all right. The final guy, I put George Russell. He was good until the last lap.
He was unlucky. He hit the wall. He hit the same wall as Lando.
Yeah, following him right up him like he was,
Still
pushing.
And Mercedes should have recognised that Lewis was faster, but they weren't going to obviously take a podium position off him.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he was having dreams of having his head buried in a different type of hedge.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, dreams of at least being on the podium.
We've killed him again.
Got the giggles on. Logan Sargent talking to its mechanics is my...
I don't think George Russell deserves the dead shit award. Just he was unlucky.
Okay, all right. Well,
He was unlucky.
Yeah.
He was there.
Forget that I mentioned him.
He was pushing for P3, man. Like, he was gunning for...
He was pushing for P2.
Yeah, I mean, he was... Yeah.
Yeah, and then he was pushing the wall in.
No, it was unlucky.
Yeah, I think he was just
All right. Well, okay. Well, we'll expunge him. Just forget that we said that, all right? Because we can't edit it out, but we'll just forget that. All right. Then we get to the news.
Whee.
Zhou Guanyu is re-signed with Alfa Romeo for 2024, except they're not going to be called Alfa Romeo next year. They're going back to being called Sauber.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I think
He's earned it.
I think he's earned it. I think if you're looking at him comparatively with Valtteri Bottas,
Is he the better driver? I don't know, like, statistically and points-wise, but...
I think they're very similar to statistically, and I'll be honestly, more times than not, I see him ahead of Bottas.
Yeah.
From what when I think back, like, without looking at anything, I'm like, I do see him.
Yeah.
Like, Bottas has been bad.
Bottas has not had a good year.
No, he really has not. So...
Yeah. No, that's a fair call.
But yeah, look, I'm happy for him to get another year. There's, like we've said heaps of times, there's no other drivers in F2 at the moment coming through. I don't think he's done anything necessarily bad to warrant getting off, unless there was an unreal talent knocking on the door. And there's not.
What's the other option is Théo Pourchaire.
Yeah, who might win F2, but
not good enough.
It's still not. And that just shows you the talent. If the guy who's winning F2 can't even knock out Zhou Guanyu out of contract.
Yeah, no, he's just not good enough. There's no one in F2 that's good enough to be in F1.
And that's the thing with F2, right? Is like Zhou Guanyu come through with Oscar Piastri like through that crop, and Zhou Guanyu's a good driver. He deserved to be on the grid.
I remember we were pissed at him for fucking taking the Piastri seat or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, oh, he's got Chinese money.
And look, he might have got like that helping because of that money, etc., etc. But he is still more talented. Like when he was in F2, he was more talented than any of the guys right now in F2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They both are. Piastri as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Now they're both on the F1 grid. And
they deserve to be there.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Next news item. There's a lot of bubbles in the story here, okay? So I don't know everything off by heart or anything, but there's a bit of an issue between Helmut Marko, Sergio Perez, and now Lewis Hamilton has gotten his beak into it.
Yeah, because Helmut Marko says racist things and thinks it's okay.
Helmut Marko said that Sergio Perez is not as good a driver as anyone else on the grid because he's Mexican.
Yeah, he said something like, "Oh, he's
not as focused."
Yeah, he's not as focused because he's South American."
Yeah,
you know who else was like from down there? Ayrton Senna.
Do you want to know? But you know what the funny thing is though? He's not even from South America.
He's from Mexico.
He's from North America.
He's from North America.
Middle America.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Lewis Hamilton took exception to it and said, I think you need to shut your face.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
And then Christian Horner had to come out this weekend and say, look, we can't actually issue a statement against Helmut Marko because he doesn't work for us.
Why is he there?
Yeah.
He was...
Why can Red Bull not just tell him to stay home?
He was an advisor to Dietrich Mateschitz.
Who's passed away.
And
so
then
why is he there?
the board kept him on as an advisor.
The board kept him on as an advisor.
Yeah.
to a guy who's passed away.
Even though the guy who's now the CEO of Red Bull, the company, does not like Helmut Marko and is trying to quietly jog him on.
That would be good because he says dumb things.
Yeah, it sounds like he was one of Dietrich Matisic's buddies, sort of thing, and
Yeah.
that's why he's deeply ingrained in this sort of spot.
Yeah.
And it's working out how you move him on from that.
Well, did you know Helmut Marko was in F1 in the 70s?
As a driver?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I knew he was in Formula One back in the day, but I didn't know he was a driver.
Yeah. Yeah, until he had a really bad accident, which clearly has affected his brain because he says dumb shit.
Hey, it could be.
You know, he needs to.
Jog on.
Red Bull need to keep him in his mouth in check.
Yeah, like why did
But
he
they
ever
can't,
get
yeah.
why does he ever allowed to talk to the media?
He shouldn't be allowed
You're
to.
not part of
That's
the
what I mean.
team, dude.
Yeah, if you're not part of the team, why is he talking to the media?
Go run your energy drink company, mate.
Well, he's an advisor to the motorsport division.
Yeah, but who cares?
Why is he
His-
talking for them?
His opinion is invalid.
Like, I understand they might not be able to say get rid of him, but like you can surely make him not talk to a microphone.
Yeah, like
Keep him
just-
out of the
We
spotlight.
can advise him to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
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 He should just stick to his role as being an advisor on what talent is good and what talent isn't.
That's right.
Oh, well, that's the problem. He thinks Sergio Perez ain't good enough.
Yeah, but keep that in house.
And he's keeping that really clear. He's not a Max Verstappen, I don't want him, and that's been his problem with everyone.
Yeah.
That was his problem with Kvyat and Albon and
Gasly.
yeah.
Signs?
Yep,
Now look at Sainz is pretty good these days. Albon's pretty good these days.
yep.
Hey,
A couple guys there that's pretty handy at the F1s.
Mm.
Right, the next and final news item is Felipe Massa is going to court over the 2008 championship because he reckons, and he's got legal representation, he is suing the FIA and, the FIA for not disqualifying Fernando Alonso because of Crashgate,
Mm-hmm.
which cost him the world title in 2008.
Ultimately.
But it goes furthermore. There is more. Because a few days ago, Felipe Massa's lawyer has said, we're not just going after money. We want Lewis Hamilton to hand over the 2008 championship to Felipe Massa.
Hell yeah, brother.
And you know what else? Mercedes is watching it because if Massa wins, they're going after the FIA for 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% they will.
Oh, it's going to be a shit show.
Look, I think Felipe Massa, I understand him suing the FIA. I understand that. But if you look at the points count back, and here's the thing, at that Singapore F1, if you disqualify Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton bumps up a position and gets more points,
Yeah.
which means he's got the championship wrapped up.
Yeah.
Because Massa still would have finished outside the points at Singapore.
So what's his case then?
Well, here's where the theoretics of it happen. If Nelson Piquet Jr. hadn't crashed on purpose, Massa wouldn't have pitted, and then his pit crew wouldn't have done a Ferrari and fumbled it, and he would have led the F1 race, and he would have eventually won it.
You can't be certain of that, though.
That's right. But that's the theory they're going off.
That is a hypothetical and a half.
You can do that with so much in Formula One.
That is a hypothetical and a half. There's no way you're going to be able to prove
Who
that.
says he doesn't crash out?
Who says he doesn't crash?
That's right. But if he wins the race, then he is so many more points clear of Lewis Hamilton that he wins the championship going into that race anyway.
No, it's not holding up in court. That's not holding up in court. There's no proof.
Yeah.
Where's the evidence? Are you doing it as a hypothetical?
Yeah, it's all theoretical.
Hypothetically, I could have won Powerball last week. Where's my $130 million?
Better sue him.
Yeah, better sue. Hypothetically, I didn't even buy a ticket, but hypothetically, theoretically, imagine if I did, and imagine if that lotto ticket was the winning numbers. Now I'm going to sue Golden Casket and Oz Lotto for the money they owe me. Because hypothetically, that's what I would have done.
I mean, hypothetically, Logan Sargent could have won last night.
Yeah, he was on track.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
He
if
was
you're
on
going
the
for
track.
Best street sweeper impersonation.
That's right.
He definitely came first.
Because if he hadn't crashed into the wall and broken his front wing, he could have won the race.
You're not wrong.
See?
Not
Look,
wrong.
I just think this is Felipe Massa. Look, I understand him being pissed.
It's
But if I was...
years too. Why wasn't this done in 2009? If he was so aggrieved by it, why?
Wait 15 years.
Yeah. If you were so sure that you were screwed, why have you waited a decade and a half?
It just seems to be the norm these days, doesn't it? You got a grievance from 15 years ago and you go, oh, I better bring it up now and try and get something out of it.
He's had a few sleepless nights and now he's vocal about it.
Why not do that? Like you said, if it was that bad, why not do it in
If you were
2009?
why didn't you do it after the race?
Yeah, 2008. Why
Yeah,
weren't you
why
like-
went to the Singapore Grand Prix? Why didn't you go to the stewards office and say, oh,
Yeah.
that's bullshit, like they cheated?
Well,
Yeah.
That's when you had evidence too. Like
well,
it would have been a way more compelling case then.
Well, here's the thing. It all started because Bernie Ecclestone a couple of months ago came out and said we should have disqualified Fernando Alonso and Renault from not only the race but the championship.
But you didn't.
But you didn't. And the only member of that regime of the FIA and of Formula One management that's still alive is Bernie Ecclestone because Max Mosley offed himself apparently.
Wow.
Charlie Whiting died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
So it's Bernie Ecclestone. That's it.
Nah. You're not,
And the
you're
other
not winning that on a hypothetical like that.
And Felipe Massa is also suing the FIA for loss of sponsorship money that he would have gotten if he had become world champion.
That's again hypothetical.
It's all hypothetical.
I thought he was only going for some money. That's all I thought he was going for.
Yeah, no. Originally
The difference
he
in
was.
money he would have got for being the world champion or something like that. That's all
that
I
was
thought
the
it was.
initial thing. Now the lawyers sat there and egged him on and gone, you can get more.
Yeah, let's
you
go
can
for
get
the world
more.
You
championship.
can't though. You can't though.
Gosh, it's like an
You
ugly
won't.
divorce lawyer, isn't
Yeah,
it?
look, I like Felipe Massa a lot, but you lost.
Yeah,
You know.
This isn't Felipe Massa. This is the yes men around him that like
something
oh.
else. Someone else is pushing this. isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's just like, oh, you see Bernie Ecclestone said that. You
Yeah.
should go. So he's a lawyer, probably.
Probably.
It's like, I'm going to go fight for you in the big courts, and you're going to pay me this big fee. And then we're going to lose, but you're still going to pay me a big fee.
Well, then,
You're going to be even more out of pocket than you would have been if you'd been world champion. You could have just taken a cash settlement.
but then it opens up a bigger kettle of fish then, because then Mercedes can sue about 2021.
That's right.
Mercedes
And
probably
they
have
will.
more of an argument.
Yeah, and they will.
Or-
Because
They
the
will-
FIA did breach the protocol,
Or
technically.
the worst one is that Damon Hill can sue the estate of Michael Schumacher to try and get his 1994 championship.
So I mean, you can go all throughout history, and how many are you going to pick apart to small moments and go, well, if that moment didn't happen, then blah 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 was going to happen.
Well,
Let's sue. You know what
Well,
I mean?
does that mean that Prost can sue Senna's estate for 2 years?
Well,
89
Senna
and 90?
could probably sue for 89.
Yeah.
Senna took him out. Prost took him out in 89.
Well, their estate could sue Prost for 89, and he could sue Senna's estate for 1990.
Yeah, but you know what? They've got dignity.
But you know what the thing is?
And one of them's dead. And the other one's almost dead.
But it's a case of it's a whole bunch of kettle of worms getting opened.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I'm going to sue the NRL for
Well, you
making...
know what could happen? Lewis Hamilton could sue Fernando Alonso for costing him the 2007 title.
That's what I mean. You can go back all throughout history. And
Any sport.
every year you'll pick
Any-
something out
yeah,
and go,
exactly.
well, if that didn't happen, then this could have happened. Now I want to sue because that could have been me.
all I'm
Well,
gonna
it
say-
isn't you. It wasn't you. It didn't happen.
Look, I understand he's a bit pissed. I'd be a bit pissed too. But that happens in sport.
That's also 15 years ago. I almost
Right.
feel like if you're really pissed about these things, you really feel hard done by, you need to be going for these things
You should have been
when they happen.
in the race director's office on Singapore night,
Or
2008.
it's not like he's been vocal about this for years and years, and only now he's been allowed to sue or something. Like, we're literally 15 years later.
When did it come out that they found out that Nelson Piquet Jr. had crashed on purpose?
2009.
So why then?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you probably wouldn't have been in the FIA because you didn't know. It's like, oh, he crashed, he cost me that. Yeah, that's just bad luck. But as soon as you found out that it was on purpose, why then didn't you go? Why have you...
Hang on. Yeah, you've cost me a world championship. You didn't do that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That was the moment. Like, oh.
For the money, I can understand him suing the FIA.
Which is all I thought he was going for, and I was like, yeah, why not? Okay.
I also think he should be suing Flavio Brigatore.
Yeah.
He was team principal at Renault at the time.
That's it.
You know?
He's the one who put the order in for that to happen.
But as much as I dislike Lewis Hamilton, he won the title fair and square.
He did. He drove that last lap in the rain on... I think he was actually on wet.
Or, if you want to sue someone, sue Timo Glock.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
For doing what?
Getting passed by Lewis Hamilton.
On slick tyres.
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of people said Timo Glock through that race. I actually watched the onboard of that. He was cooked. He was out there on slicks in the rain, had no traction.
Yeah, like
he was dry. He was doing well to keep it on the track.
If there was anyone who threw a race, it was back in 1976 with Clay Regazzoni. But no, because apparently he did actually throw it and let James Hunt pass because he was pissed off that old Enzo Ferrari had dumped him again.
Well, Nicky Lauda's dead, but no, Nicky Lauda's this stage should go back and sue Clay Regazzoni and give him the one championship point back that would have beat James Hunt.
Marlena, she could sue him.
Yeah, Marlena's still alive.
Yeah, but so
dumb, and it's not going to work.
So's Susie Miller.
Oh yeah, Susie Hunt.
Yeah. She's. But apparently, in real life, I was reading her Wikipedia file. In real life, apparently,
you know who doesn't read Wikipedia? Toto Wolff.
On her Wikipedia file, they actually said she is a very self-absorbed bitch.
Of course she is. She's a supermodel.
No. Like, she was only with James Hunt because she thought he could buy her stuff.
Of course.
And
then she went to Richard Burton. She's a supermodel. Why do we have to explain this to you?
No, that's pretty self-obvious.
No. Like, to a near, like, just a real self-absorbed to the nth degree. Like, she would be
She's
with people.
a
Phil,
supermodel.
Female supermodel. That's all you needed to hear, and then you just explain what you're saying.
She's like a current day OnlyFans model.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she hasn't been on OnlyFans. I'm just saying.
She's about 30
If she was
years too
alive
late,
this
mate.
day, she probably would.
She is still alive.
Oh, you know what I meant. Like, proper
If
alive.
she was still hot.
She was proper alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proper alive. If her tits went down by her knees.
Face like the front end of Sogan Large's
Yeah,
car.
she'd probably be with Sogan Large and thinking he could buy her things.
Like a melted popsicle.
Because he thinks he's a rock star in his own mind, walking around going, "See you in Suzuki, boys, in Japan."
See you in Suzuki. And the track's owned by Honda.
Yeah.
The irony.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help Mark Marquez.
The ironing.
The irony.
Right, that's the end of the news. I have a bit of a talking point, though. We get to AlphaTauri.
That's an AlphaTauri car.
We kind of touched on it earlier, but yeah, that AlphaTauri seat,
It's heating up.
it's heating up. Like
There's 3 guys.
Tsunoda, Lawson, and Danny Rick. Well, I thought I'm going to break this down a little bit. So I'm going to ask Longhorn first. What do you think Yuki Tsunoda's positive aspects that will help him keep that seat? What do you think will help him keep that seat?
Okay, so for AlphaTauri specifically,
Yes.
he's had the most, like he's the number one driver of that team, you could say, because he's been the most experienced in that team. He's been with that team 3 years now. So he's been in the Red Bull system for that long. His pace is good. His improvement, he's shown improvement every year. I'd say he's probably one of the top 12 drivers on the grid at the moment in Formula 1. And I think he's been really, really consistent this year. He hasn't had many mistakes that have cost him. Like he hasn't had accidents or things like that. So I think he's just really consistent. I think he's got good one lap pace when he can show something. And as I said, he's been in the car for the last few years, so he's got that experience as the number one. So,
okay, well, we'll hand it over to JB. JB, what do you think are the reasons why he shouldn't keep the seat at AlphaTauri?
Well, I mean, you can't even say it's... All of his accidents this year haven't been his fault, really. Like, I can't even say that it's been disappointing performances because he didn't even make the grid last race, and he made it 3 laps this race, and neither of them were his fault. So I think if you had to nitpick, it'd be consistency. He's improved, but he's not a Daniel Ricciardo, and I think Liam Lawson, even if Yuki Tsunoda had stayed on track in Singapore, I think Liam Lawson probably finishes ahead of him anyway. I think there's a lot more talent out there. I guess maybe financial. If you need to make a decision between Danny Rick and Yuki Tsunoda, you'd probably go with Danny Rick. Only because Danny Rick's got more experience.
Okay, well, what are your reasons why Danny Rick should have the seat at AlphaTauri?
Experience. He's fast, and he's out now through no fault of his own. He crashed and broke his wrist.
Yeah.
That's unlucky, but he's got pace. He's been in the Red Bull system before, so everything about that Red Bull system he's familiar with. And they wouldn't have brought him back if they didn't want him in the first place. So AlphaTauri clearly want him there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Longhorn, what are your reasons why Danny Rick shouldn't have the seat at AlphaTauri?
I wouldn't think there's too many for him to not. There's a lot of positives for him being in that car. Only reasons I'd say not to have him in that car is probably because I would want to put him straight in the top team and give that seat to a potential up-and-coming driver, because that's what the point of that B team sort of is to give the up-and-coming drivers a go, and Danny Rick's already proved himself in a sense. So if they think he's good enough to be back in the Red Bull system like they have, and he's good enough to be back in the AlphaTauri, then they probably already think in their head that he's good enough to be back in the Red Bull. So for me, the reason not to have him in there is that if you feel like the reason you brought him back is to get him into that top team, he should just go straight into that top team, because I don't think Perez has done enough to warrant not chucking him in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, other than that, JB, all the positive things are there for me with Daniel Ricciardo. So to not have him in the seat, there's really not too many reasons.
All right, well, I'm going to give the positives on Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson has jumped into the car and been able to just go straight away, just hook it up and go. I mean, obviously Zandvoort was a little bit of a 11th hour, dumped in the car, so it was a bit of a feeling out period with it. But last night and Monza, he showed that he's got skill in the car, and he seemed very hooked up with the car. The fact that he's been doing really well in other formulas as well does mean that he's got great racecraft, and that he is... I see Liam Lawson as a future Red Bull driver. So that's my thoughts on him. I think
you got big raps on him then.
Yeah.
You think he's the most talented driver Red Bull has outside of Verstappen? Sorry, I'll rephrase that. You're like talented young driver they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's the pick of the crop. Compared to Tsunoda, I don't think Tsunoda's ever going to get in the top team.
Yep.
Danny Rick, he's going to get into the top team and replace Perez. But he ain't going to be there long, because he's starting to get on in years, and I think Danny Rick is just hitting that point where he's starting to just creep past his prime.
Yeah, I don't know if he's fully still got it anymore. That's why if you think he does, I think you need to throw him straight in that top team now. Just have at it. Let him have his last hurrah. If it works, it doesn't. You give this year to Lawson and Tsunoda, and you pick the better driver after next year.
Look, I'll throw it out to both of you guys. what do you think Liam Lawson's detractions are?
Pecking order.
Yeah. In
Yuki
F1
Tsunoda's the inherent
inexperience.
number one.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have put Daniel Ricciardo in the seat if they didn't want him there.
Yeah.
He's just the pecking order.
Yep.
It's not his time, but when Yuki's contract runs out next year, give him 12 months and it'll be a different conversation.
I honestly feel like, I don't know if I'm going ahead with maybe what you want to. I was just going to talk about potential where they could go.
Well, yeah, that's actually where I was going to go. Like, what do you think
I think the best scenario for everyone is Yuki Tsunoda finds a seat away, because I agree with you. I think Yuki Tsunoda, to me, my personal opinion, I think Tsunoda's their most talented young driver, but I also don't see him ever getting in the Red Bull seat just because of politics and all that, and pecking order and timing and all of that. I think Tsunoda's going to be one of those drivers though that goes to another team and does fine at another team and lasts on the grid for a number of years. And I think now's the time to make that move away. You do 3 years in this system. If you're not going up the top team, you don't want to be Gasly and being in it for far too long, and so I can see Tsunoda. He's had links with Williams, and I think that'd be a great move for him because him and Alex Albon have a history where they worked as Alex Albon actually helped Tsunoda as like a driving coach sort of thing back in Red Bull, and I just think that'd be like a great little pairing. Bring that back, and I think Tsunoda would be a nice pair of hands to add a bit of excitement to the Williams, a bit of experience, a bit of points that Logan Sargent's not bringing, and that leaves that seat open for Liam Lawson to jump straight in, because I think Liam Lawson has already shown in 3 races he needs to be on the grid next year.
Yep.
And I think AlphaTauri should be doing everything they can to give him that seat, if not potentially loan him to someone else if they can. And you obviously still got Danny Rick there, and then that brings you Danny Rick into the AlphaTauri still for another year if you want to see that for some reason. But I still stick by, in my opinion, I think you just got to let Perez go. But I think unfortunately he's contracted still next year, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that's the only hold up. But ideally Tsunoda goes somewhere else, and Ricciardo and Lawson take the AlphaTauri seats.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I agree with that.
Well, mine's a little bit more elaborate. I do see Tsunoda going to Williams next year.
Yep.
And Lawson and Ricciardo driving at AlphaTauri.
Nice.
For next year. The year after, though, I do see Red Bull dumping Perez and bringing Ricciardo up.
Yep.
Which will then mean that Tsunoda will probably go back to AlphaTauri unless there's an offer based on future potential happening that Alonso or Stroll, one of them leaves Aston Martin and Tsunoda gets in there because of the Honda connection for 2026.
What are the odds of Sergio Perez landing back at AlphaTauri after being dumped by Red Bull?
No, he won't.
Do you reckon he'll land anyway?
He might go back to Aston Martin.
No, I don't see that happening either.
Or he might end up at Williams.
Yep, he could come back to Williams. To be honest, after that year, if Williams haven't impressed on the grid too much, I can see Albon moving up somewhere, and Tsunoda still staying at Williams, and Perez coming to Williams. There'd be Perez-Tsunoda pairing, which would be kind of interesting at Williams. But yeah, I agree. I think if Perez goes, I don't see him going back to AlphaTauri.
No.
I think he has to go to another. But at the moment, I couldn't tell you where that would be.
I kind of don't think he'll go back to Aston Martin either. I think he, when he was dumped, like he still had a year contract.
Yeah, and it was this ownership that did it.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of trust there.
Yeah.
But also don't forget, like Perez is getting on in age.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And apparently Perez has got 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's a baby making factory, that boy.
He is.
Mexicans, bro. That's what they do.
Yeah, true. But I don't see Logan Sargent being on the grid next year. He just has not done enough. And you get pundits in like Martin Brundle sitting there saying, "Oh, Logan Sargent's done enough to keep him around next year." No, he hasn't.
No way. We got rid of De Vries after what, 6 races?
Yeah,
we got rid of De Vries, right, for poor performance in a sense. when he just wasn't. He hadn't got any points and wasn't really getting out of Q2, etc., etc.
Mick Schumacher was booted for the same
Yeah,
reason.
Mick Schumacher was booted, but was putting in performances at least in between his crashes, etc.
Yeah.
What has Logan Sargent done? He hasn't got a point yet.
Yeah, there's no way he keeps his seat. There's no
He
way.
got to Q3 once on a track that suited our Williams, where Albon was flying, and the track was developing from rain to dry. Like, he got into Q3 and crashed. Like even his highlight is still diminished with a crash.
Yeah,
Like I really don't know how we have any money left for his car. Like, he's knocked that many front wings off. I don't know how we have any left. I legit don't.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, when it comes to the Williams driver's seat, why is Nick de Vries not in that conversation?
I think the problem. This is what Williams has now done. Look, De Vries should have been in this year because I think he would have helped that car a bit better. I think he would have been better in a Williams than in the Red Bull system. And I think after a year in a Williams, we would have been going, yeah, he's good enough to keep for another. He would have been like that Guan Yu Zhou discussion where you're like, well, there's no one really else pushing to be in. He hasn't really done a huge amount to stay. Well, we'll just keep you because you're still growing, got experience. I think that's what De Vries would have been like in a Williams. Where Logan Sargent come in, and I said before when he first come in, I remember saying last year, he is not ready. No. He is not ready for this seat one bit. And he's come in and he looks like a guy that's completely not ready. Like, he looks like he's not even up to speed in a Formula One car. He's had that many accidents.
We were talking about theories and theoreticals before. If De Vries had signed with Williams, that would have meant that they would have had to have signed Liam Lawson to AlphaTauri. I think you could take Tsunoda's points, halve it, and give it to Liam Lawson. And that would have been the scoreboard.
I think that would have been pretty even. Yeah, agree.
You know, it's either that or they put Danny Rick in the car.
At the start of the year, yeah.
But because of...
The De Vries was a bad... And that was a helmet marker. Another reason why they need to probably skedaddle him out of advisory, because that was his choice.
Yeah,
every time a driver's down from the Red Bull system, it's because of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it his choice to get him, or was it Christian Horner's choice to get De Vries?
It was Helmut Marko.
Yeah, it was his choice to get him.
Christian Horner said he's not good enough.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think it was De Vries' fault. I just think the car wasn't up to snuff.
It's still not. It's not a great car. But that's why Lawson and Tsunoda have been great, in my opinion, now for Tory, because they're both putting in performances in a really poor car.
And it's only taken 3 races for Lawson to get on the board.
Yeah, that's the most impressive thing.
You know, so...
He's been clean. He's had no accidents. Like, he's kept his nose clean. To get 2 points today on an AlphaTauri, that's huge.
But I think the big change is going to be the end of 2025. Because Lewis Hamilton's contract is up. I think Hamilton's going to retire.
I think so, yeah.
He's going to retire before the new regs come in. I think Fernando Alonso will be gone by that point too. Mm-hmm. Because, frankly, I think he's past his prime. I mean, at the start of the year, he was punching above his weight, and then everyone else caught up, and Aston Martin have just gone nowhere with the car.
Yeah.
But then there was a news item, and I totally forgot to put the photo up about it. But someone interviewed Sebastian Vettel.
Yes,
and he said, "Never say never about me returning to F1."
Mate, if we could get him into a Williams, I'd be stoked having Vettel back.
Yeah, well, you know,
what seat would interest Vettel? Do you think? Where do you think he could come back in? Honestly, probably be a Williams, right?
It'd be a lower grid team, I think. Probably a Williams.
Like,
if he wants to come back at all.
Yeah.
I think he'd go back to Aston Martin. He would.
I mean, if Lance Stroll gets dumped, he might just go back to Aston Martin for a year.
He'd want to crack at Ferrari again.
Yeah, but you're not dropping either of those guys.
No, you'd be mad to drop one of them two.
He's not getting back in the Red Bull system, although that'd be a sweet full circle for him.
Yeah, like Danny Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny Rick and Seb Vettel at AlphaTauri.
What's holding them? Like, with how ruthless Red Bull are, and how much Helmut Marko clearly dislikes Sergio Perez. What is stopping them from just I know he's got a year, but what's stopping him from going, here's your money, off you go, Danny Rick's going to drive next year?
Because I think Christian Horner still believes in Perez.
But he clearly
Has
likes
Sergio
Ricardo more.
done
Like
anything really wrong?
Look,
He's not the tail gunner he was in 2021 or last year.
I mean, he's dropped
He's-
out in Q1 a couple of times. You know, he's
We're basing this on the fact that Danny Ricciardo wouldn't.
no,
I know, and that's another
Danny
hypothetical.
Ricciardo's last competitive season was dog shit.
And that's another reason why, like, when we were talking earlier, like, I think you said it, Phil, with Ricciardo, you think he's sort of past it. I don't even know with the AlphaTauri, like, I don't know why we're giving him an extra year, because I don't even know if he's up, like, is he comparable to Lawson and
We don't
Tsunoda
know
at the
because he
moment?
crashed like 3 races in.
That's what I mean, and part of me's like...
We've got to wait. I think we're gonna have to play the waiting game.
Part of me feels like Ricardo's at that point where you're like, you just got to throw him in the top team and let him have that shop and let that burn out and then let him burn off from Formula One. Because why is he taking up a seat of a Lawson seat when that's what that team is for, in a sense? It's to bring up these young guys.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like Ricardo needs to go straight into that top team or don't have him at all. Like, what's he driving around in an AlphaTauri for?
Experience.
But he's like...
rebuild his confidence.
Yeah, get him back in the
Yeah,
groove.
but that's what I mean. It's like, is that the guy you want to pin to? Because like you said, his last proper competitive year was dog shit.
It was.
Is he going to get it back? I don't know. When you've got a guy like Lawson sitting there going, oh, do we want to jump on that young confidence train?
Yeah.
Get him going, you know?
And if you grab Lawson, you've got a Red Bull... Pardon me. You've got a Red Bull driver for a long time.
Yeah.
You've got a guy there that you could look towards being the next Max Verstappen when Max Verstappen hits, what 2028?
2028, and he's hinting big that he's leaving. Formula
I think
One.
he'll be done by then because he would have won every world championship from here to then.
Hey, man, it's not a possibility. That Red Bull doesn't come back. I'm sure it was just a Singapore track, but
Yeah,
I'm sure in
this is just an
I'm
off
sure in
weekend.
Suzuka he'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, all systems go again.
Yeah, 100%. He'll have the championship wrapped up by the end of that race.
Well, I said Suzuka, but I didn't see this result coming, so
No, but couldn't have he had it wrapped up at the end of this?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have had to, but the Mercedes did, well, more than enough. I think the Mercedes guys shouldn't score a point.
Yeah, if the
Mercedes
Mercedes
guys didn't score a point, and I think Max had to win and get fastest lap or something.
and Sergio had to come second.
That was for the constructors. I don't know for the actual championship.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Speaking of the actual championship, we're going to move right along to the drivers' standings.
That was a good segment, Phil. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. That was just
We'll
off the
We'll have
cuff.
to do that. We'll have to do that every chat, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just pad one in.
Yeah, throw
Yeah.
one in at the end. Have a talking
Yeah.
point.
All right. Driver standings. Max Verstappen is winning the championship on 374 points. Sergio Perez is second with 223 points. Third place is now Lewis Hamilton. He's passed Fernando Alonso with 180 points. Fernando Alonso is fourth with 170 points. Carlos Sainz is fifth with 142 points. And you know what? I'm going to make a big prediction here. Sainz is going to beat Alonso
Yeah.
by the end of the championship. Sixth is Charles Leclerc with 123 points. Seventh is George Russell with 109 points. He's dropped down a few places. Eighth is Lando Norris with 97 points. And another bold prediction, I reckon Norris is going to pip Russell.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Ninth is Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll missed this race and is still ninth.
He's missed the last 10 races. It's just that start Aston Martin got.
And
For as dog shit as he's been, he's just there.
It's annoying, isn't it?
It is a little bit.
And in 10th place is Pierre Gasly with 45 points.
Here's a quick one. Take Stroll out of that. Where's Aston Martin sitting right now if you had a, say, I don't know, even a Pierre Gasly in that car?
Well, they did not have a fucking good race in Singapore. They haven't had a good race in a while, actually.
Oh, let's throw a half-decent driver in. Let's say they had Lando Norris.
No, they're probably a little bit further up.
Yeah.
I don't think they're, Well, what are they in the championship?
How many points do you think he takes away from Alonso? Or, like,
Well,
Maybe another 20.
Well, how about I keep it going here? Because I've got the rest of the standings here. So in 11th place on 42 points is Oscar Piastri.
I was about to say, Piastri shouldn't be too far outside this top 10.
I think Piastri is going to bump Gasly and Stroll. He's going to be
100% he will, yeah.
He's going to be right there. In 12th is Esteban Ocon with 36 points. 13th is Alex Albon with 21 points, out of the 21 points that Williams have got.
Yeah.
14th is Nico Hulkenberg with 9 points. 15th is Valtteri Bottas with 6 points. 16th is Zhou Guanyu with 4 points. 17th is Yuki Tsunoda with 3 points. He's also tied on 18th with Kevin Magnussen, who's also got 3 points. 19th is Liam Lawson with 2 points. 20, 21, and 22 are Logan Sargent, Nick DeVries, and Daniel Ricciardo with 0 points.
Logan Sargent's been outscored by a guy who's had 3 races.
Yeah.
Logan's, yeah, that's it.
That's your answer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then we move on to the Constructors. Red Bull Racing is winning the Constructors with 597 points. Mercedes is second with 289 points. Ferrari is third with 265 points. And they are catching Mercedes.
Hot on the heels.
It's going to come down to the wire. I think Mercedes will just hang on, but Ferrari's in with a shot.
They're both very similar cars now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Both their upgrade patterns have sort of followed each other.
In fourth place is Aston Martin on 217. McLaren is fifth with 139 points. They are cut adrift from... They're in Midlands.
Yeah, we've pretty much cemented 5th.
Alpine, they've pretty much cemented 6th with 81 points. Williams is in 7th with 21 points.
Hell
They
yeah.
should just call themselves Alex Albon.
Just change it to an A.
Albon F1.
Albon. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yes. Sargent F1 has got 0. Haas is in 8th with 12 points. Alfa Romeo is in 9th with 10 points. And AlphaTauri is in dead last with 5 points. I find it really interesting that it's bookmarked with a Red Bull at each end.
Here's an interesting one for you. Do you think AlphaTauri pips Alfa Romeo? Because I think they do. I think with Tsunoda and Lawson, I think they pip him.
How long is Ricciardo out for?
He's meant to be back at Suzuka. So, yeah, true. Take that
I
back.
don't think he's going to be... Because they're going to Qatar this year, aren't they?
Yep, after Suzuka.
Yeah. I read somewhere might be ready by Qatar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was Suzuka.
I personally reckon rest him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, let Lawson see it out
Yeah,
while he's confident and going.
Yeah.
You know?
He's given up super formula to come and do this.
Yeah.
Give him a crack.
That's what I think. Like, yeah, give him the rest of the year to prove he needs a seat. And then if he does, and you're still confident in Ricciardo and you still want Perez out, just move Perez out. Like, don't hold back poor Lawson to give Ricciardo some experience. Like,
Well, Christian Horner still believes in Sergio Perez.
believes in what? Like, he's going to
That he is,
come in second?
that he is a perfect number 2 driver.
Yeah, because Christian Horner looks at it, I guess, the same way Toto Wolff looked at Valtteri Bottas, which made sense. He was a great number 2. But the problem is it's Valtteri Bottas is a far better number 2 at Mercedes than Sergio Perez is at Red Bull.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what I mean, they all view him as the Massa or the Barrichello to Schumacher.
The problem with Perez as number 2 is he's not consistent enough. He's only been there because the car is so much better than everyone else in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, his performances haven't been like, oh, and Sergio Perez makes Q3 every week and he comes in the top 6 every week. It's like, okay, why is Perez not made it out of Q1? Like,
It's always at qualifying. It's always Max, then someone else, then Perez.
if he's lucky.
If he's lucky, yeah.
There's been so many
On a
times
good-
he's just snuck
Yeah,
in.
on a good day.
Yeah, there's been so many times he's just snuck in, like, out of Q1. Like, you're like, what are you doing, man? Like, you pipped Logan Sargent. Like, Yeah, he just hasn't been consistent this year. He was great in 21, good in 22.
At 23,
And
starting
23, he's starting to decline a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
But he's still second in the championship by some fucking margin.
but that's, again, because that Red Bull team is so bloody good. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, for all the shit he's getting slung at, he's not like...
Well,
He's
he
behind
has
anyway.
won 2 races this year too.
Yeah.
You know, he's got some serious points on the board. You know, but
He's almost, what is he, like 60 points ahead of Lewis?
he just needs to get the consistency happening if you want. You know what? I think Helmut Marko sitting there saying, well, he's not that good because he's Mexican or whatever. That's got to be rattling him too, knowing that the guy who's the advisor for the team thinks that he's crap.
Helmut's been trying to rattle him for a long time. And
And
it
I
feels
think-
like it works at times.
Yeah, I think coming back to it, Helmut Marko almost is counterproductive for the team.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, about how, that attitude of, like, spitting him out unless they're a Max Verstappen is, like, why you've spit out all these drivers who are now very, very good drivers. Because you haven't given him that little bit of time to gel.
Alex Albon is a prime example. Like, he wasn't that bad.
He really wasn't. Like, Alex Albon should have had 2 wins.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton took him out twice in 2
Yeah.
different races. Albon got podiums.
Yeah.
He only had, like, 8 races?
Yeah.
And they kicked him out. And it's like...
But now Albon is showing what he can do in the big rebuild of Williams.
Oh, you imagine Albon right now in Red Bull. Like, he would be... I honestly think he'd almost push Max Verstappen.
Yeah, it would be a lot closer.
Oh, it would, for sure. At least be a lot
It
closer.
wouldn't be the
but-
complete blowout. We wouldn't have had that the Undertaker streak of 10 wins in a row.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
You
That's
know?
right. It's funny, right? Because the Red Bull argument is just like, isn't it working for the team in a sense? Like having Sergio Perez there, like he's not biting at the heels to be number 1.
He's not a
happy to
threat
be
to
number
Max.
2. He's just happy to be there.
He's
Yeah,
the
not a
Valtteri
threat.
Bottas to Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah,
This is how they work.
that's
It's a
it.
fucking 8 years.
Exactly.
In a row.
But is it like, are they looking at it and going, well, if we aren't as dominant as we are, he probably wouldn't be that Valtteri Bottas
Well,
in a
actually,
sense.
you're comparing him to Bottas. I think he's got more in common with Felipe Massa or Rubens Barrichello. Like, they just seem to be happy to be in the presence of the Michael. You know, particularly Massa. Massa, like, I'm in the presence of the Michael. I don't mind if I have to step aside and let him win. Like, it's okay because he's the Michael.
Yeah.
You know?
But doesn't that work, I guess, at the end of the day? Like, you have that clear number 1, you know, that number 2 that lets him
Yeah,
move.
he's
Like,
not pushing Max at all. Like, Max has got no pressure on him.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good thing.
And you know what? Max doesn't
You want to bring a
need it.
Daniel Ricciardo in that's going to try it
Yeah, he might push him.
and disrupt the rhythm.
Mm.
And
To be fair, though, I don't know if
Baku
you will, 'cause
2016,
Max
crash
loves
each other out.
Daniel. Max loves Daniel.
yeah, I know, but Daniel's not going to...
I know, they're going to push him. But maybe Max might want that, to be honest. Max seems like that.
Max probably does want
He's
that.
actually that one kind of guy that I think sits there and goes, I want someone to push. I think he would have enjoyed actually racing in this race, even though
Yeah.
it didn't go out. He would have
Yeah, he
enjoyed
would-
having to come through the field.
He
'Cause it's
finished 5th, which is pretty good
yeah, bloody oath.
from where that car was.
I think that Max would have really enjoyed the battle with, even though it was very brief, the battle with Liam Lawson. He would have liked to see
And
there
he
go.
was, 2/10 of a second behind Charles Leclerc at the end. He was almost 4th.
Yeah, but also don't forget Charles Leclerc tyres were completely knackered.
Yeah, but I mean, from where Max was,
Yeah, he came from like 17th.
almost got Charles Leclerc. He was fighting for a podium about 5 laps prior.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fair drive.
Yeah, no, I'm not doubting his ability or anything like that. But I do think Max seems to have a war fighting in his head. Like, he wants a teammate that's going to be competitive, but he wants a teammate that's not going to be so competitive that they'll pass him.
Yeah, no, it's a confusing one, hey. Whereas you got like a Lewis Hamilton who's clearly like, no, I got to be number 1.
Yeah, it's
You know what
me.
I mean? Like, yeah, it's me. Like, no, I don't want someone else to be
Then-
better. I
then
just
you
want
get-
someone to move aside for me.
Then you get the opposite, which is Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, who seem to be working, or Piastri and Lando Norris. Both of those teams have drivers that are working really well together.
Yeah.
And if one's leading and the other one is behind, the other one will sit there and go, right, if I'm quicker, let me pass.
Yeah,
If I'm not, I'll tail gun.
yeah.
Yeah, they are 2 perfect teammates.
And is that what maybe Red Bull are looking for? Is just maybe a better teammate? Because at the end of the day, as much as Perez is sweeping up the points necessary for the constructors in a sense. He's never there to help Max.
Yeah,
He's never up there to tail gun in a sense.
Max
He's
doesn't
always
need help when he's 30 seconds.
I know. That's what I mean. This conversation could go on forever because at the end of the day, like, look how
Max
good they
doesn't-
are. Like,
At the end of the day, Max doesn't need help.
no, of course not. Yeah,
Red Bull wants Sergio up there to play the pit strategy game of undercutting someone.
yeah,
And they don't have that option when it's just Max out there by himself.
that's it.
But Max doesn't need help when he's winning by 30 seconds.
Exactly.
I
right.
think Helmet wants someone that will fight
for a world championship
fight
with him.
Max.
Red
for
Bull
the
want
world
another.
title.
Red Bull want 2 Red Bulls up there so they can undercut Perez and force someone else to pit and keep Max on plan A,
Yeah.
so Max can just win comfortably.
Yeah.
They can't play strategy with 1 Red Bull and 2 Ferraris and 2 Mercedes up there.
Yeah, well, they can't play strategy. But what you can do is you can follow us on all our social medias. You can watch this video on the YouTube channel of Vindicator 18. Follow the F1 chat. Also on a dedicated channel called the F1 Chat 1. Don't forget the 1.
Don't forget the one.
You can communicate with us on Facebook, on the F1 chat. You can interact with us on the X, no longer called the Twitter, the X,
On the X, the Twitter bird is gone.
which is the F1 Chat 1.
Don't forget the Han.
Yep. We are on the Rumble with the F1 Chat, and we are on the Spotify with the F1 Chat. Right, so the next race is
This weekend.
This weekend?
Yep.
The Japanese F1 from Suzuka. Unless you're from America, then it's from Suzuki.
And it's on in the daytime
Suzuki Vitara.
for us.
Yeah, wow.
It'll be on at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
You know what? We might be able to do this straight after the race is over.
I won't be here.
Oh, no.
We might do this straight after the race.
I'll be away on assignment again too.
Oh, no.
Wait.
Out in the
Wednesday.
field.
We might see the return of Barry Enchilada.
Oh, yeah. Fingers crossed, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe. We'll
Yeah.
throw the invite out again.
Yeah.
I mean, he missed his favourite race, so
Yeah. Yeah, what's the chances of him coming to another one?
he'll be here.
Right, so next week is the Japanese F1. And it doesn't clash with Bathurst this year, which is
Disappointing, to be honest.
true. Yeah,
That's a traditional back-to-back
Yeah.
day.
yeah.
That is 6 hours of Bathurst into 2 hours of
Wet rain chaos,
tsunami.
tsunami racing.
wet blanket Neil Crumpton into wet blanket Suzuka weather.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. I know this has been a bit of a longer episode, but we've had a bit of fun.
We have.
Hope
And,
you have too.
And yeah, well, yeah.
If you're still here listening.
If you didn't
Yeah.
tune out after the first 3 minutes, we're sorry.
Yeah.
But we're not really.
But on behalf of these two boys, thank you for joining us. We will see you next week for the next episode of the F1 Chat. Until then, it is goodbye.